Hey.
Hey. Hey now.
Hey now.
By the way, we will be doing, the easy recording thing, if that makes sense,
Yeah, where it doesn't matter as much.
It doesn't matter. How's everyone doing? I think that's the slogan of today's show. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You can always tell how we're doing it based on if I'm wearing my little cable or not. If I'm wearing my cable, that means we're gonna have like a special guest or something.
Well, Travis might be he might be giving the whole show away. There will be, a special guest. One of the biggest Apple haters that, just to tease it a little bit, you can start guessing in the comments. We will be having a special guest today. He is one of the biggest Apple haters on the internet. You probably know him already, just based on that clue of Apple haters. And he's gonna come in and tell me why I'm wrong. So someone saying they're sorry. I lost my mind over Greg. I know listen, I've been interacting with a lot of people on Twitter. Listen, no one is right? Everyone has their own opinion. If I say something that goes against your opinion with technology, don't take it personal. At the end of the day, it's tech. Like, if you like something, you like something. If I like something, I like something. So any technology dispute that I get in with you, don't take it personal, like the guy who wrote for Windows Central did and blocked me because I said the Surface Duo was buggy, and then he said no, iPhones were buggy when they were released, and I went, no, they're not, and then I got blocked. So don't be like that guy. I know any sort of fight can get like heated, but it really doesn't matter.
Not terribly important. I'd say it's weird that he blocked you just for saying something, unless he was like on the team and just upset.
He wrote for Dan Rubino. Is that mean to like call someone out? He like writes for like Windows Central. He was talking about the Surface Duo. I said it's a cool concept, but it's really buggy. And then he was trying to like defend it, going like the iPhone was buggy. It didn't have 2G when it launched, or 3G when it launched. And I'm like, yeah, but those are all like hardware things. Like, they really got like the software experience down on the original iPhone. That's why people liked it a lot. But the hardware was lacking. It didn't have like 3G and stuff like that. And then he like came back at me. He's like, well, this is like a first step. And then like, I don't know. He just like blocked me after that. It's funny though, because I read his review, and in his review, he says it's buggy. So I don't know. Maybe people were like trolling him all day, and I was like the last straw, like at the end of a long day, and then it's just the wrong person at the wrong time. And then it's like, oh, I can't take it anymore.
Worst thing ever.
Yeah.
All right. So do we bring him in and then do the show intro, or do we bring him in?
We're going to do the show intro.
Okay, and then
it's short. And then, you're going to know when to bring this, Viper's right. Too much savage, Greg. I don't think I was being particularly savage, though. I think I was just being a normal level of me.
All right. Well, okay. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. We got to keep it tight today. So let's go.
Let's do it. Hold on. Let me just put out the tweet. We'll go quick.
And I don't have to hit record because.
Oh man,
that's right.
It's all good.
It's all gravy train. Twitter tweets about ready to go out.
Going live with podcast. Join us. We have a special guest. All right, that's good enough. Yeah, perfect. Look at this. All right. Let me just make sure I got the right song, and I'm gonna hit record. You ready?
Yes.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Hello, world, and welcome to the fastest refreshed rate podcast out there, the Gadget Cast. My name is Gregory McFadden, joined always by Travis MCP.
Space travel. Let's go, everybody, with the space travel. I hope everyone's been space traveling all this week. Hope you're all well. Welcome back to another Gadget.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is hopefully people have been a lot of space travels. Okay, people have been doing the space travel. It's new. I've seen some like guy flying with like a jetpack. I feel like in the next 5 years things are going to be pretty crazy. We think Lou knows about space travel. So
I mean, we proved it last week. Lou, Box Therapy, knows about space travel. So welcome, Lou, to listening to the show. We appreciate you for
Lou, longtime fan. Big fan, Lou. He loves GadgetCast. I think it's his number one podcast. Unless he comes out publicly and says it isn't, I believe it is. So, if he wants to set the record straight and correct me and say it's not his favorite podcast, I'm all ears. But until then, it is officially his favorite podcast.
No, I agree with that.
I really do.
It's really everyone's
Let's get into the show. We got a lot to talk about. We got to keep a tight schedule because we are very famous, very busy people.
Yep.
Doing important things. Going to be talking about, the Surface Duo came out. That's a thing. That's a thing. You're going to hear some interesting stories regarding the Surface Duo. We're also going to talk about this Apple event that sprung out of nowhere. I don't think we knew about it at the last podcast. We knew something was coming, but we didn't know. There's going to be an event on the 15th. And we're also going to talk about something else, something that has just gripped the internet out of nowhere. The iPhone 12 Pro. We've been talking about this phone on GadgetCast for so long now. And this week, out of nowhere, and I mean, this has been a story we've known about for quite a while now. I think it's because some people put out some information. I think John even said like 120 hertz it's not coming official, but we kind of knew it probably wasn't going to be here anyway. And now everyone out there is just complaining that this iPhone 12 Pro doesn't have 120 hertz. They're saying you shouldn't buy it. They're saying, how can it not compete with all these other phones that have 120 hertz? And, it sparked some debate. It sparked some debate online. My feelings regarding it is, number one, we gotta see the phone released. A phone is more than one feature. Maybe there's like a secret feature they have there that when they release it, everyone's just going to be like, oh my gosh, wow, now I got to get it. You know what? The 120 hertz, it would have been nice, but I think I can take the sacrifice. So that's kind of my feeling. And I feel like we really have to see the phone. At the end of the day, I would rather have a high refresh rate screen. I think most people would. But I don't think it's a ultimate disqualifier. I don't, maybe it will be. I've been recommending normal iPhones for a while now, and I might do the same this year because the Pro might not have as many exclusive features. But Travis, we do have a special guest.
We do.
The biggest Apple hater out there. And
Greg, I don't know what you think you're doing here, spreading this misinformation that you're doing here. When Apple puts a 60 hertz refresh rate screen on the iPhone 12 Pro, they will go out of business. You heard it here first. That is my leak. That is my prediction. Apple is over because of this issue here. I mean, what is going on here? I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a very important story. I spoke to my mom on the phone this morning, and I said, Mom, you've had your iPhone 6S since 2015, and I hear you're looking for an upgrade. What are you looking for in your new iPhone? And she said two things. And this really, really stuck with me. She said, number one, the A10 Fusion chip is too slow. I much prefer the newer Bionic Big Little ARM chip design. And number two, she said, and she was very clear on this, 120 hertz dynamic refresh rate on an OLED display is a must for me. If I have to use an LCD or an OLED with a 60 hertz refresh rate, that's it. I'm done with Apple. My 57-year-old mother, she said that to me, and I took that to heart. And frankly, the fact that Tim Cook has not proves that Apple is going out of business because of this. It's disgraceful.
For everyone who doesn't know, that's Luke Miani here with us today on the podcast coming
in. For the audio listeners, that is noted Apple hater, leaker,
Hate Apple.
Duke Miami. He's here with us to tell us all about his mom's preference. I hate to go against Mrs. Miami and her phone preferences for a fast refresh rate screen. I ultimately think it's not going to matter too much.
That's just your naivete speaking. Because here's the thing:
big word.
How could you possibly expect to scroll through Twitter without 120 hertz? Explain that to me, Greg. How are you going to do that physically?
I think one might take their finger and drag it across the screen. Perhaps the motion of that movement is not
like a child. Come on, man.
Adults, children, any and all ages, genders, religions, they can all scroll Twitter with a 60 hertz display.
See, that's laughable. In fact, quite frankly, I was disappointed at 120 hertz. I really think that they need to be putting these G-Sync panels with 360 hertz. How can I possibly expect to play Fortnite on my iPhone after we save it, after Apple goes out of business because they took Fortnite off? Because as we know, Fortnite is what's keeping Apple in business right now. Once they get Fortnite back, how can I possibly win at Fortnite without a 360 hertz OLED display? It's just incomprehensible, quite frankly.
Well, Travis, Duke he's making some good arguments here. How do I'm going to need some backup. Travis.
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on this. Like, I feel like if I'm going to spend $1,000, I better get 120 hertz. This is not the end of the world. But I mean,
well,
maybe it is the end of the world. I mean, maybe I'm being convinced otherwise. I don't know. I was in the middle on this at the beginning, and now I'm starting to see the light, I think.
It's over, man. This is the end of Apple as we know it. I sold all of my stock this morning because it's going to tank. It's going to be negative. We've never seen that before, but it's going to be negative because of this.
Do you think that 120 hertz, do you think this is the biggest blunder of Tim Cook's stewardship of Apple?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, Tim Cook, we all know that he's made so many grave and terrible mistakes, such as the Apple Watch, the iPad Pro, all of the Macs since he's been, every single one of them is terrible. The iMac Pro behind me, I hate it. I have it there not to edit every single one of my videos for the past 10 months. Not to do that. I have it there for ridicule only. For ridicule only. What I actually use to edit my videos is I have a Chromebook in the back. That's a little known fact. It's more valuable to me anyway than any Mac in the last 9 years.
Well,
look at that. There's someone in the chat says, don't forget the disaster that were the AirPods.
Oh, yeah. Name one person that you know that has AirPods. No one. They're a dead product.
I'd like to use logic and say, you criticize the iPad Pro, but that does have a 120 hertz refresh rate display.
That's the only good thing about it. That processor, they really need to put a GTX 1080. They need to put Intel Core i9 processors in the iPad. I don't know why they're not. It's greed, frankly. It's greed. Why don't they have a Core i9?
Now, Mr. Miami, as this news broke that 120 hertz was officially, killed off the iPhone Pro at the last minute, just to spite every single customer that wanted it for no other technical reasons.
Especially my mom. Very rude to my mom.
It was, I feel like maybe your mom might have slighted Tim Cook, and it was just
I think it's a personal vendetta. Yeah.
But I'm gonna, I like to play devil's advocate. Lead to some interesting conversation. And, in the midst of this news on 120 hertz, I've been playing around with another phone called the Surface Duo.
Best phone of the year.
This is a $1,400 device. And I see a lot of people saying a $1,000 device needs to have a 120 hertz panel. But these same people, I feel like, are leaving comments that this $1,400 phone or whatever you want to call it, don't call it a phone. But then when you set it up, it says setting up your phone. I don't get the marketing there. This has a 60 hertz panel from what I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Greg. What's the refresh rate of the screen on the Surface Duo?
I believe it's 60 hertz.
And let me ask you this. How many screens are there on the Surface Duo?
Oh, 2.
And what is 60 plus 60, Greg?
Whoa.
Well, those are some big numbers. So I'm
going to find it's
I'm
120.
going to have to get back to you on 60 plus 60. I see someone, maybe. Oh, someone in the chat said it, 120 hertz. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to argue with that math, quite frankly. You should really check your numbers before you go saying that on a podcast here.
I've always been the type of person that thought experience trumped, kind of specs and all these numbers. And I got to tell you, as someone who's been using this phone, I don't know if you've used the Duo. You might have a strong opinion on it, even if you didn't use it. But it's really buggy, and I feel like even if this is it's a nice piece of hardware. Actually, I think the hardware here is pretty solid, but the software experience, it's just really lacking. I really don't understand how you could release a phone that has so many software issues. And I really just think it hampers the experience. So I think I'd rather have a polished 60 hertz display rather than software that is buggy.
All right, dropping the bit for a moment here. I do want to point out that everyone's talking about like, oh, the world's going to end if there's no 120 hertz on the iPhone. And I started thinking, okay, well, what if we let's examine all these phones with 120 hertz. Are they all perfect? Do they all nail the feature? No. I mean, you look at the Note 20 Ultra, which has 120 hertz, but it runs at full HD instead of the full resolution of the screen. And I was like, well, that's weird. Stuff like the Pixel 4, which I think is 90 and it's dynamic. The battery life is horrible. That thing runs through a battery like my 3-year-old iPhone 10. And I don't know if there is a phone that has 120 hertz and OLED and dynamic switching and doesn't compromise battery life. Like, I don't know if there's an implementation that has done it really, really flawlessly. And that's the thing with Apple is, we all make fun of them when they're late on certain trends, but like they don't sort of half-ass stuff. You know what I mean? They're just, if they're going to put 120 hertz in a phone, they have to have everything. Battery life cannot take a hit. Performance cannot take a hit. It has to look good. It has to be up to the quality that they're expecting. It has to be dynamic. Like, those are just, they're not going to compromise that. Other companies might, and maybe it's worth it. Maybe you're willing to make those trades, but that's not what Apple is about.
For the audio listeners, Duke Miami has been executed, and Luke Miami has now taken his place.
Yeah, he was an imposter. I just want to apologize. I was not made aware that my alter ego was given this opportunity to express such bile and hatred on this podcast. It's really embarrassing.
We're all about that, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Luke makes a really good point, and this is a point that I was trying to bring up to people, and I just don't. People just couldn't grasp it. You can disagree with Apple not shipping 120 hertz. A lot of people like the feature. Some people would probably want to make that sacrifice of battery life. Give me the choice. I don't care if my battery life is bad. We're staying inside. I can do fast charging. All these other excuses. I just want the smoothest experience possible. I don't care if the color management is bad. I just want the faster refresh rate. And I can respect that opinion. Obviously, there's other phones that do it. They have the feature already. I think, yeah, you're right. There's really no phone that does a perfect implementation of it. I think the OnePlus, I forget the exact name, does do 120 hertz, does do the full resolution. But from what I hear from people who use that phone, it really does like just eat at the battery life when you have it on both those modes. Apple is a company that, they could ship it and go, hey, you can do 1080p at 120 hertz. But you can never set your resolution on an iPhone. They're not gonna have you micromanage that. A lot of these videos come out and it'll be like, oh, how to get the best battery life on your Android phone by turning off this setting, setting it to this, putting your brightness at this, turn off the adaptive brightness that actually kills your battery. So there's a lot of stuff like that Apple just wouldn't do as a company, because their philosophy is they want to ship something that for lack of a better term, most of the times just works, and they don't want you worrying about, well, should I have full HD 120 hertz or should I have full resolution 60 hertz?
Yeah. And that's something the Note 20 Ultra, you have to make that decision on I believe $1,400 phone to start. So like I do understand. I really do understand the argument of people that are like, well, why would I upgrade to the iPhone 12 Pro? Like $1,000. It's not even coming with the high refresh rate display. It's just the same stuff that we've seen before. The notch is the same size. All of that stuff. I don't know. I understand why people are saying that. I have the iPad Pro. I don't have the new iPad Pro. I have the 2017 iPad Pro, the 10.5 inch where they introduced ProMotion. So I love it. I love ProMotion, and I would love to see it. I want to see it on a Mac. That would be really cool. And I would love, obviously, to see it on an iPhone, but it's not game changing. It's not it's sort of it's like a frosting feature. It's not a core foundation of the phone. Like, it makes it look nicer when you're scrolling through Twitter, but it doesn't allow you to do something that you couldn't already do. And I think that's kind of what I talked about in the video that I posted yesterday on my channel, where I was just kind of examining, like, well, why do we care about all of this stuff? You know, I mean, obviously we care because we're tech YouTubers and we're interested in the tech community. We're always looking at new and interesting technology. But when it comes down to making a decision about, this is something that I'm going to use for a couple of years, half the time the features that we use to determine whether an iPhone is good are like a little bit of sprinkles thrown on the top, or maybe they change up the design. One of the examples that I brought in was like on the iPhone 11 Pro, this frosted back glass. Why did they put this on here? Huh? Does this make the glass more durable? Does it make it charge better? Like, is it more conductive for wireless charging? No, it looks better. It looks different from the previous phone. And that's what a lot of people look for. They're like, ooh, I can tell visually that I have the newest iPhone, even if the design doesn't really affect anything. So all of these features are things that we think matter. And, you know, we go through the leaks and we go through the rumors, and they're still exciting and fun, but it's not necessarily as big a deal as everyone works it out to be.
Yeah. And I think, so I just recently did a review Amazon renewed on the Galaxy S20. It's the first time I'd actually seen it this year, and I got to see their 120 hertz implementation. And my first kind of phone experience with high refresh rate was last year's OnePlus 7 Pro, and it was a much bigger deal last year, I feel like, for a multitude of reasons, including how incredibly like optimized that OS is. And one thing that Apple has going in their favor, I've always said this, that iOS in general feels smoother than 60. I mean, I don't know. It's like some fake kind of, it might be the animations themselves or something, but I constantly look at it going like, well, what would even 120 look like on this thing? And my iPad Pro, a lot of times I forget it's 120. Like, I don't even really see it anymore. So I think that for me, the only reason why it's a big deal isn't so much that it's a technology people need. It's like it's becoming the bare minimum. And at that point, when you're paying for something, you want to just have the bare, like what standard is, I guess. But as we all know, Apple just ships phones. They don't ship specs, as Renee would say. And you have to kind of look at it like that. And it's funny because I was going to make a video this week, if I could get my butt around to it, about how, the iPhone 12 is, it's not for a lot of people that are watching YouTube videos that are high spec nerds. It's not really. I mean, I guess the Pro's supposed to be. This is why I have a problem with them using the word Pro. But in general, Apple's never really been that for phones. Like, their processors have always been excellent, but this is the same basic design of the phone for the last multiple years, which is kind of boring to me. I mean, there's a little bit of tweak here and there, but that's not the point. Like, that's never really been the point. They come out with like one kind of elegant design, and then they use it for 4 or 5 years, and people like it. And I mean, I don't know, what more do you want? That's Apple.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I've seen a lot, because I've criticized the iMac for a couple of years now for not changing an 8 years. And there is an element of this that carries over to that, because a lot of people criticize Apple for, they say, oh, well, Apple used to be the leader in design and now they're lazy, right? That's sort of a common thread that people criticize Apple in the last 10 years or so. But I don't know that it really makes that much of a difference. I would rather have designs that work than designs that are different for the sake of being different. Like, I mean, when it comes to the iMac, it's a little bit different in my opinion, just because when I think that design should change when it's useful to increasing the usefulness of the product. So thinner bezels, one way you could look at that is, okay, well, if the bezels are thinner, that means the footprint is smaller, which means it's lighter, it's easier to carry around. That is a functional benefit. Same with the iMac. If you were to take a 27-inch screen and shrink down those bezels, you get a smaller product. And also we right now we have giant holes inside the 2020 iMac where the hard drive used to be. That space could be either eliminated or used for something else. So when a design change promotes a new technology or a betterment of the product itself, I think that's valuable. But when it comes to smartphones, if you're changing the design every single year just to be fresh, what exactly does that net you? I mean, for one, it nets you a lot of extra cost because you have to develop the tooling for all of this, a lot of extra waste, a lot more parts, a lot of new different types of parts. One of the things that's always been interesting about Apple is because their designs don't change that often, a lot of the parts are intercompatible. Like you can pull the display off an iPhone 10 and put it on a 10s. You can pull the displays. Most Retina MacBook Pros have interchangeable parts, and that's a benefit because that means the parts are more available. It means that you don't have to hunt on like weird sites to find specific little things that are only for that one phone that 1 year. So there's definitely more than just I want my phone to look different that goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is why I like having Luke on the show, because like Travis and I would never think of like, oh, you can source components easier and get like a repair or replace it with this. So it's always good to have that additional perspective of why the phone design maybe isn't changing every year. You also have to just take Apple as a company now and really realize where they are, really realize how many phones they ship. When Apple, was kind of the underdog, they could change their designs a lot more frequently because they didn't have to ship. I don't know how many iPhones ship every quarter. It's like a crazy amount. They have like the best selling smartphone. And if you're only making like 1,000 smartphones, if you're only selling like 1 million of them every quarter, you can change that design as much as you want because it really doesn't matter. Oh, did we lose Luke?
Oh, Luke is gone. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There he's back.
A bit of a malfunction there.
I thought he's just hearing my argument. He's like, "This is
I got to get out with that."
Yeah. It's harder to move all that. It's harder to move all those products and retool everything when you have to make that many phones for that many customers. Again, people throw the argument out, well, they're like, oh, a $2 trillion company. Can't they do this? Listen, there's just some things in a supply chain that it's even, you could throw as much money as you want at it. And at the end of the day, it might not be possible.
Well, I mean, at any rate, I think we've beaten this thing to death. Let's real quick talk, because we have a little bit of time. Well, we have plenty of time to talk about all the other millions of things that we're going to allegedly learn about this week. And by the way, I don't know if you've checked your text in the last 45 minutes, Greg, but there was a new thing. Greg and I are seeing things we're not allowed to talk about. But holy poop! It's just there's some. I mean, I can't. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything else about it. But let's talk about the allegedly.
It's extremely vague.
I pulled myself back.
I'm talking about the Apple event. What are you even talking about?
I don't know what I'm talking about, Luke Miani. I'm having problems today. It's been a weird day.
Let's talk about this September 15th Apple event that came out of nowhere. A lot of people thought, obviously, this is going to be the iPhone event, me included, by the way. I'm like, oh, iPhone event, September, of course. And then, I think 5 minutes after that came out, you had people like Mark Gurman saying, don't expect new iPhones. This is for the Apple Watch and iPad. And you have all these people, all these experts on Twitter who have seen an Apple event every September for the last 10 years. And they're like, no, iPhones come out in September. I made a video on this. Me and Luke were talking about this on Twitter. I made a video on this, and then I'm like, I'm just trying to be helpful and be like, hey, don't get all hyped up. Don't expect the iPhones. And then people are like, you're a liar. iPhones come out every September. Why are you making fake videos? Just for the clicks? And I'm just like, no.
I got a whole bunch of comments on my video. I had a video from on Tuesday that I posted. I beat you to that one, Greg, but you just got more views than mine, so it doesn't matter. And, just kind of talking about that September event and saying, hey, probably not going to have an iPhone at it. And people are like, you're insane. You're an idiot. Get off the internet. And it's like, I don't know why people are so visceral about just us disseminating information. People are saying no iPhone. So why is it that big a deal? You got what? You got to wait an extra month. We already know that they're literally going into production last week. iPhone 12 went into production. So of course they're not gonna announce it yet. Saving it for later.
All right. And let me Jern just said in the chat that we can say what we've seen. We can't obviously show what we've seen because I'm sure he's gonna post that in his own show. But we've seen everything, son. We've seen it all. No, we haven't seen it all.
I'm jealous.
We've seen a lot.
I've seen well, he said we can say, right?
Oh, but I think there's some things we shouldn't say. I think the products we can say. I don't think we should say that other stuff we saw.
I'm jealous. I want to be a part of it. I want to see that stuff.
You can say the name of the product, right?
Yeah.
So we saw a couple of products.
Did you see AirPod Studio?
I saw the
AirTags?
Studio,
And then we saw, that other thing.
Yeah, AirTags, AirPod Studio.
What are you doing? You're beating around the bush here. What are you?
No, I mean, we saw them. They're real. AirTags look really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, I was the biggest critic of AirTags. Who wants these? And I saw the design. I'm like, I kind of want one. I'm not gonna use it, but I kind of just want the design. And the AirPods Studio look pretty cool.
I'm probably going to grab those because honestly, I have not been using my AirPods Pro as much since quarantine times because I don't know, all earbuds fall out to some degree and you're always putting them back in a little bit or just adjusting. I'm very particular about the fit of my earpods for whatever reason. But over-ear headphones is what I use mainly now when I'm home. I don't walk around with over-ear headphones on because I don't want to look like a tool. And So under normal circumstances, I would probably be getting more use out of my AirPods Pro, and I might actually skip the Studio. But now I'm thinking I'm probably going to go for it, especially if they're what are they $299, $350 or something like that.
I think the rumored price is $350.
$350. I mean, that's not terrible for active noise canceling smart headphones. Basically, that's not not terrible.
They're basically the same price as the latest Sony headphones that do noise cancellation.
I've tried those out a couple of times. The thing that I really like about those is they're super duper light.
Yeah.
And they don't squeeze your head. My biggest pet peeve about headphones are I hate the on-ear ones that sit on your actual ears because those are really uncomfortable after a little while. And then sometimes over-ear headphones can hurt the top of your head and squish your head if they're too tight. Those are my two biggest complaints about headphones. So if Apple can use their little wizardry, wave their little fingers over it and make it not do that, that will be fantastic.
Yeah. So the studios we saw, interesting. I guess it shouldn't be terribly surprising. I mean, they're charged by USB-C. I guess that's not terribly surprising.
Good. One less lightning charger to have around.
Exactly, right. And one thing we found out today is there doesn't appear to be a headphone jack, which makes sense, obviously, if you're going.
So you can't wire them?
Apparently not. Which again, if you're doing with an iPhone, which is the assumption, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a difference to me.
Although I feel like if it has USB-C or even if it was Lightning, you could probably just get an adapter. The Beats, Beats Solo Pro 3, the latest ones from them, it's just a Lightning port, but Apple sells like a Lightning to 3.5 millimeter jack. I assume they will have that, and I guess any accessory maker could probably make it, unless they limit it, which I don't think they would. So I feel
the thing
like
that I'm most excited for is the battery life. Because right now what I'm using, I don't wear them because they're audacious and very cringy, but I have the Beats. I can't remember what model they are, to be honest, because I didn't pay for them. My buddy got them for the back to school discount like 2 or 3 years ago.
Nice.
And he had them in the box, and I was like, hey, can I have those? And he was like, sure. And so now that's what I use. They're like the small little, they were like the back to school thing. They have the AirPods chip, like from the original AirPods.
Mhm.
They charge with micro USB, so it's not quite like the newer ones with the Lightning. But the important thing is the battery life is unreal. I legitimately charge them every other month. That is not an exaggeration. Granted, I don't use them all the time, but I use them every single day for at least an hour. And I legitimately charge them once a month. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they're small too.
I have those too, and the battery life on all those Beats ones are really good. The only headphones, strangely enough, that I've seen like that bested them are the ones that me and Travis are wearing, which are like a $40 pair of headphones. They have like a 60-hour battery life.
Wow.
Yeah. Even like the Sony ones, which I just got on Viper's recommendation, like the battery goes quick on them. Like I do have to charge them like pretty consistently. But the Beats ones have always had really good battery life. And then I got like these, and I'm like, how are these $40 that have like a 60-hour battery life? And it has like USB-C charging. It's like it's crazy, like the value that just this pair has. We need to get our contact to send Luke one. Just be like, just send Luke my
Yeah, send me some Gadget Cast headphones.
The Gadget Cast exclusive version? You talking about that?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I don't know. I think about it. We have one. Think about it.
But yeah, we're not expecting these to be at the event, right?
See that? Okay, I've been thinking about this for a while. They have the event scheduled in at 2 hours. Like if you add to calendar, it says 1 to 3 p.m. or at least 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, whatever time zone you're in. They have it at 2 hours. I don't take stock in that. I don't think they would put the exact runtime of the event. Like they wouldn't, if you add to calendar, they wouldn't say 1 hour, 29 minutes and 38 seconds. Right. So I think that's a rough, that's the upper limit of what this event would be. But I would find it weird to have an event, especially one in September, where the only thing that they do is an Apple Watch and an iPad. Yeah. Even if it's Apple Watch Series 6, Apple Watch SE, and then iPad 10th gen, or what, like the regular budget iPad, and then an iPad Air. Even if you were to do that, that doesn't quite compute for being a full event. Even when we've had like the iPad Pro event, right? In 2018, they had the iPad Pro event in October, and they spent, I actually counted this all out because I was trying to figure out how long this event's going to be. They spent 45 minutes talking about the iPad Pro. From like, hey, iPad Pro, it's time to talk about the iPad. And then they did a whole bunch of demos and the specs, and then they wrapped it up. 45 minutes is what they spent on that. I don't necessarily think that the iPad Air is a 45-minute product.
Right.
Because it's not as, that was a brand new product. That was a huge, not just in terms of design, but in terms of the promotion. You had the A12Z, A12X. That was a 45-minute product. I don't know that that's the case here. And they usually don't spend more than 20 minutes on the Apple Watch anyway. So, and I'm not trying to say that I think the iPhone's going to be there, or Apple Silicon Max, or AirPods Studio, but they've got to fill it with something.
So that, I feel like that 2 hour event thing, and I think Renee kind of went back, is it's basically just a placeholder. Every time you schedule an event, it's 2 hours from Apple. And he went back and did the research and went, well, this was a placeholder, and it was like a 1 hour event. So I don't know if I'd really go off the calendar stuff. Also, I would assume that this event was probably planned with more stuff in it before the delays. So it's just one of those things that's probably very easy to overlook. Like, oh, we made the calendar invite and no one changed it from a 2-hour, event, and when you add it to your calendar. So I'm not
saying that it was. I'm not trying. I should have specified. I wasn't trying to say that I think it'll be 2 hours long.
Right.
Usually, an Apple event runs around hour 20 for except for like the WWDC ones are longer. But I don't think an Apple event has crossed 2 hours in a while. Usually between 120 and 140. But I don't even know, like with just Apple Watch and just iPad, especially with the faster pace that you get from a virtual event, because I think it's important to remember that when Apple has done their live events, they are doing like they have 10 minutes of like opening and welcome, and they're like, here's what is going on, here's a new Apple store that we're opening up. WWDC this year was really fast paced, and so I think it would be fair to assume that this will have a faster pace. This seems like a 40-minute event to me.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to be even an hour.
Wow. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible, especially since it's not like you're in a conference room with a bunch of people, right? This is just probably a pre-taped thing. So it literally could be any length. So it actually isn't out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to clarify. John Prosser is in the chat. He said, don't expect the AirTags or AirPod Studio for this event. Expect them in October. So
October is going to be crazy.
Yeah, October is going to be big. It's going to be a lot of stuff. iPhones.
I'm really excited.
All this other stuff they have to announce and release.
Although what was interesting to me, and I don't know if I take too much stock in this, because Apple, like, people often look at delivery times as evidence of impending updates. It's not that accurate. It's more like accurate within a month or two. So I don't necessarily think that it says anything about this event. But the MacBook Pro 13-inch shipping times have slipped. I'm pulling it up right here. Like this happened with the iPad or the iMac in June, where the shipping times went back to like several weeks, and then sure enough, within roughly a month or so, they did get the update. So right now, the MacBook Pro does not ship. Wow, actually, that's interesting. The 2 Thunderbolt port MacBook Pro doesn't ship until October 6th, that's a pretty significant drop. The 4 Thunderbolt one with the 10th gen Intel processors, those will ship by Tuesday. So I think that's actually pretty interesting, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, 13-inch MacBook Pro is going to get Apple Silicon. And I've heard people, similar in comment sections, they're like, no, what are you talking about, you idiot? But I think that's seeming like it could be a reasonable expectation at this point. Not at this event, but I think certainly at October.
Yeah, and I would assume they want to get those out as quick as possible for like the holiday season. Like they need to get this stuff out there to sell it. Mac stuff can kind of be delayed until like December, but I assume even then they want to get that out because it's more consumer-facing product than something like the Mac Pro or the iMac Pro. But going back to like this event, I was actually like, I'm with you. Like, what are they even going to announce? Like, the Apple Watch last year was really just such a minor update. And it's one of those products that really doesn't get a lot of like leaks or rumors. It's not like on that list for whatever reason.
There's not really a market for Apple Watch leaks and rumors. I don't think people are
I'm buying.
People are really on a yearly Apple Watch cycle. You know what I mean?
Just me. But you're right. The iPad, like there's nothing new with this device. It's a cheaper iPad Pro. They're just gonna go over the fact that that's what it is. It's a better value. Maybe it has like the A14 in it, and they could spend time on that. I don't even expect that though. I saw some I don't know. There's so many leaks and rumors from fake accounts. It's hard to keep up. But an A14, I get that would be the introduction of it. That would be very interesting. They could spend a lot of time on that. But I think the Series 6. I saw a lot of last minute leaks today, and from reputable sources like Love to Dream and stuff like that. Kind of like doing like those cryptic tweets that he does. But like now all of a sudden you're hearing like fast charging on the Apple Watch, which would be great with that new sleep tracking feature they have in watchOS 7. If you could just like charge that up in like 15 minutes before you go to bed, or after you wake up. I mean, that's what's needed for that sleep tracking feature to really work better. The blood oxygen sensor, we are hearing like new colors now, maybe like a new material, like new S6 chip. Like it sounds like a bigger upgrade than what we got last year with the Series 5, which was really minor. There's rumors that there's going to be like a second Apple Watch just for an Apple Watch SE, who even knows what they'll call it, but a cheaper Apple Watch that has like the Series 4 design. It's going to not have the always on display, no ECG, things like that to save costs. So they could spend some significant time on the Apple Watch there. But what I really think is going to be at this event, because again, last minute leaks, Apple One, the service bundle. And I was thinking about it because I'm like, iPad and watch, how can that be an event? Even if there's more to this Apple Watch than we think, like you really can't make an event around those two products. It really just seems like there should be something else there. And then like I saw like this, like the name leak from like the Apple Music on Android. And it's like, of course that's what it's going to be. People are going to be so disappointed when it's just like the majority of that event is going to be like, hey, look at all of our great services and you can now bundle them together and save $1. Like, I don't know.
Yep. They're going to talk about that for 20 minutes.
Yeah, they will.
Because Apple's services, I don't know, they've been the most boring part of every event for the last like 2-3 years. Like it seems they used to do when they did what was it? I think it was 2019 or something. They had like a whole 20-30 minutes dedicated to like Apple TV Plus. And they showed like a bunch of trailers and they had the guests and I was just like, yawn. Give me some hardware, man. And not to bash them. Like, I guess some people use Apple TV Plus. Some people conceivably could have even paid for it, which is not something that I will ever do. Or same with Apple News Plus. Not interested in that. But yeah, I definitely could foresee that happening. And you just know that people are gonna on Twitter. Before an Apple event, people tell you that you're stupid for like denying that they're gonna get 850 different products at an event. Then the event happens and they're like, that sucked. There was nothing in there. It's like, yeah, because you made up all of these things that you wanted them to do. No one ever told you that was going to happen. And then they get disappointed. So like, don't everyone's getting their hopes up for this event saying it's going to be amazing and huge. It's just not real. I mean, when was the last time that Apple had like a giant mega event? They don't do that. They space it out. It makes sense. It's why we don't upload 4 videos in 1 week and then go dark for a month. You know, regular spacing is just something that every company would feasibly do.
Exactly. Travis, I feel like I got an exclusive leak for you that's just going to get you so excited. Travis,
Please tell me.
You like iPads. You like the color blue.
Well, I love blue, and I love iPads.
They said that there might be a blue color for the new iPad.
You know what? That would actually make me excited.
That's actually not interesting.
I would buy that.
The Air?
Yeah, for the iPad Air, they're saying going to start at $599, which makes sense, by the way, because I'm like, I don't feel like this is going to be like a $499 product.
Yeah, no way. Not a chance.
But
look like the iPad Air or a Pro, I mean.
Yeah, it's going to look like the iPad Pro pretty much.
A couple weeks ago, I still don't understand how they're not. I mean, what are they taking away from it that doesn't immediately eat up the 11-inch iPad Pro? Like, it's going to have USB-C, right? Like, we're pretty sure of that.
Yeah.
I would bet that's actually a really good point because now that you mentioned that, I don't think it'll have A14 in it because the A14 is going to be very, very close to the performance of an A12X and Apple's sort of tiered system. I don't think they're going to do that.
So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Luke, you might not have heard this. We figured that they're in a pickle because the current A12 is in the current iPad Air, which is a great processor, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to put the 12 in this. Doubtful that they would. I mean, maybe they would go lateral. When's the last time they did that? It's possible. They're probably not. When's the last time we heard of an A13 in anything besides these phones? Like, I mean, I don't see.
I mean, we don't have any iPads with A13 in it.
Exactly. Like, I mean, they could. It just seems like a weird thing, right? And they're definitely not going to put.
I'm actually wondering now. Okay, I'm gonna let me do some. I gotta look something up here. So, Because I've been thinking about that too. You know, it's a very weird situation, and I think they really are in a pickle. I don't know if their plans have changed as a result of that, but it seems to me that A14 would only make sense if this product came out after a new generation iPad Pro, but
Right.
it's not.
And
It's coming out before. So the fact that it's coming out before iPad Pro, before the iPhone itself, I think rules out introducing A14 because
So
I don't think
A13?
Apple introduces new processors in non-flagship
No,
devices.
No. And A13 maybe, or maybe they just do a hooty hoo and give you like an A12X. You know, you go back to the last year's Pros processor because you've already quote superseded it with the 2020, which is a bunk of hooey as we know, but at least it looks like it's still a previous generated When's the last time, besides the Air, for the most part, processors and Air and iPads are never the same processor as like the phone that comes out that year. So that pretty much again knocks out A14. A13 just seems like a weird move. So I
think it's probably going to be a 13, to be honest.
I mean, I would buy it.
I'm trying to find out. I'm on everyeye.com trying to find out when the previous iPad Air. Okay, March 18th, 2019.
Yeah.
It launched with an A12.
Yeah.
So that was that is weird.
Right on par. It was right on par. Not usual for them. It was really weird.
Yeah.
And the Mini came out with the A12 as well, which is even strange.
That's true.
The Mini is like you put an A12 in that. Like, when will I ever have to get rid of that? Like, never.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense for the Air, for the Mini, and then like the normal iPad that still has an A10.
Yeah.
That's what's weird, because if they don't move up from the A12, then that means that whatever this other budget iPad is going to still have an A10, because they can't move that up to an A12 too. Otherwise, they completely cannibalize every other iPad.
A11. I mean, at this point, what are we doing? I mean, it is very.
There's never been an iPad with A11, and it would be weird for them to start now, 3 years out of date. So I don't know. I think, I think they're in a real big pickle,
Really
a marketing pickle with this one. I think A13. That's my guess.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, like, when we started thinking this through a couple of weeks ago, we were like, wait a minute, what the hell are they going to do? Because it's almost 11 inches. It's going to look like the iPad Pro. It's going to have at least a processor probably online with the iPad Pro of 2018. Like, if it has USB-C.
It's basically how can we kneecap this product to justify the iPad Pro 11-inch while still having this other thing?
And can you? No 120 hertz, okay, but if I'm saving $200-300, that thing is so close that the 11-inch might as well get discontinued.
Yeah, I mean, so the other thing that throws this for a loop is there's probably going to be another iPad Pro coming in early 2021, because we know that A14X is going to be a thing. And that was the thing. Speaking of this sort of marketing conundrum, that was something that was really bothering me when people were having these rumors for these first Apple Silicon Macs saying, oh, it's going to be an A14X MacBook, like 12-inch. And I'm just like, no, because not only would they not mix branding like that and put an iOS processor in a MacBook, but they wouldn't do it before even announcing the iPad that it would go to.
Right.
Because like that was the thing people were saying, oh, well, I don't see why they wouldn't use the same chip. It's going to be decent in terms of performance. And I'm not doubting that. I mean, from what we've seen so far, A12X and A14 and A14X are going to be insane. But they're not going to put an iPad chip in a MacBook before putting it in an iPad, let alone at all.
Right. What the hell's going on over there at Apple?
So, one of the things that I've been wondering, because I've spent a lot of time thinking about this Apple Silicon, I'm thinking that the difference is going to be binning at first. I think that they have one processor that they're working on right now. And we're sort of temporarily calling it A14X because we don't know what Apple Silicon, what their nomenclature is going to be. Yeah. Probably M, maybe if they feel like there's enough space between M being associated with the motion co-processor, but I think they're developing A14X, and they are setting aside the best of the best, those top binned chips, and putting those in the Macs, and then the sort of standard ones. Maybe it'll have less cores, like fewer performance cores or less graphics cores or something, sort of differentiating it, and then having those less expensive, more available chips for the iPad early next year. I think what we're thinking for this year is a 12-core chip design, so 8 high-performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. I would be willing to bet that if they're either going to use that for both the MacBook and the MacBook Pro, or they'll have an 8 plus, or they'll have like the 4+4 design for the lower end Mac, and then have the 8+4 for the MacBook Pro. That I think could make sense, but I don't think there's a world where A14X shows up in a Mac. That's not going to happen.
Agreed. Going back to the iPad, I feel like it's going to be like a 13. I don't know, 14. Yeah, I feel like they would want to save that for the iPhones, and they wouldn't announce a product that had it because it's the iPhone. You got to have like that flagship feature ready to go. So I'm thinking 13. I just think they're going to deal with that weird marketing of like, wait a minute, this iPad Pro has an A12Z, but this cheaper one has a 13. What's that all about? I just feel like they're going to have to deal with that for like a quarter of selling these products, because I'm guessing just everything is just kind of like, there's been like so many delays and problems with the supply chain. I just feel like it's either like, do you sit on this product? No, like we could sell like a bunch of them. Let's just ship it.
And especially at this time of year, I mean, this iPad is going to be a huge seller for them because they're introducing far enough before the holiday season that people will add it to their wish lists, and at that price point where people are more likely to justify it. Because I think as much as we like laugh at Apple for putting Pro on everything, I think there is a certain set of people for which the Pro means, oh, that's too fancy, I don't need that. And so they look at an iPad Pro, they look at a $799 price tag that they think, oh, I don't know if I can really justify that. But you take that design, you call it the Air, which is a little bit more mainstream, mass market, consumer friendly. Maybe that'll be more appealing to a holiday season crowd of gift giving people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean these are all good problems for the consumer to have, because if you can get a great iPad at like $200 or $300 less, you win. You know, like it's great. Another rumor I was hearing about is the regular iPad is also might be updated alongside this, and that's gonna get the A12.
I've heard that.
That would be cool.
And that's $329.
It's A12. That's insane.
That would be.
I wouldn't be surprised. Apple has got their chips. They are so cheap to make. They're probably the best performance per dollar chips that you can get in any sector. Even if you adjust for, like, obviously they're not Core i9 levels, but in terms of, I've heard that an A13 costs about $25 per unit to manufacture.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not crazy to think, oh, $329 iPad getting the A12, because the iPad minis, it's $400. So obviously it's not that.
Also, iPhone SE has an A13 at $400 as well.
There you go. Perfect.
One last thing before we start to wrap up here. I saw Matt McCord talk this. I actually mentioned this to someone last week. I don't remember who. That they could, and there's no reason not to, really tease the iPhone 12 at the end of this thing. They don't have to show it. They could silhouette it. They can do what freaking Samsung did this year, which is, show the fold and say coming next month. And then, you know what I mean? We already know it's coming out next month. So why not put it at the end?
I've thought about this. And it would be, I feel like they're going to do it too. And I feel like it's just going to make people mad. I feel like Tim Cook's going to get up there and be like, and there's one more thing. Join us on October 10th.
That would be a very weird thing for Apple to do. Because I mean, apart from they do have Apple is they're a creature of habit. So they have this sort of repetitive cycle that you can look at. And I get that's why people think that there's going to be an iPhone here. but they don't generally tease, especially at that sort of a time frame.
Yeah, but
the only time Apple teases, they've what?
They've never had to do this before. They've always had it in September. They've never had to wait an extra month.
But like, I don't think a month-long tease. They've done teases before, but it's been Mac Pro 2013, iMac Pro 2017, Mac Pro 2019. Those were their three big teases where they launched 6 months ahead of availability. I don't see the iPhone being that type of product.
No. Yes, I don't think they'll show the iPhone off. I just feel like they're going to say, hey, join us at our next event on this date. Like, I feel like that might be I don't know. Event might be an announcement at this event. The only reason I say that is because mainstream media is calling this the iPhone event. Like, if you go on like CNBC, they're like, hey, the new iPhone September 15th event. And you've seen the reactions of just normal people watching your video going, what are you talking about? September means iPhone. I need a new iPhone. And if you're just like an average person watching this, you might be like, where's the iPhone? What do you mean there's no new iPhone? Oh, I guess I don't have to get one this year.
That's true. They could say, I don't see them teasing it in any visual way. I don't see them saying like, here's a sneak peek.
Right.
I'd love if they did that, because that's more content for us, right? But if they do anything, they might just say iPhone is coming this year, don't worry. I think that, like, obviously not those exact words. Like, Tim Cook shows up, he's like, hey guys, just so you know, the iPhone's gonna come. See you later, bye. Like, they're gonna have like a little way to weave it in there. But I really don't think that they're even going, like, that even would surprise me. I don't think they're gonna acknowledge anything.
Probably. That's the safe bet, to be honest.
When in doubt, bet conservative with Apple, because if anything, they hold stuff back. They don't give you everything that you want. That's part of that's how they get you. They give you the little taste, and you're like, ooh, what's next? Ooh, here's a little taste. Here's a little taste test of what you can expect. And then you never get that full satisfaction, that dopamine rush of like, here's all the products right now.
Well, one thing we know for sure is by the next Gadget Cast, we will have all of these answers. And of course, we want you to join us for that. Now, if you're new to the show and you've not heard of my friend Luke Miani, he is on YouTube. We'll make sure there's a link in the show notes and all the other things. So make sure you check him out here on YouTube. He does some amazing stuff. And I know he's going to be covering this as well. So make sure you check out all three of our channels this week. But I must bid us adieu. What do you think, Greg? Was this the bestest show in a while or what?
Yeah, I think it was the bestest show in a while. I think Duke really saved it for us. But
I apologize for his conduct. That was just embarrassing.
Also, don't forget to check out Front Page Tech tomorrow. I mean, you might be listening to this; it's already out. He's going to have those visuals of what Travis and I saw, so you're going to see that tomorrow. You don't have to wait too long.
That's right. Anyway, Heath, Luke, guys, Greg, and I'm
control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Nice to be in orbit.
Space travel.
All about the space travel. Everyone, thank you for joining us. No aftercast today. I have some stuff I need to handle. Luke, hang tight. I want to show you something. Everyone else, we will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Greg, say goodbye.